Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Sauce. Looking like we're gonna have a red night. The Marlins choked. Now the Mariners are down like 7-0 as I'm recording this, so I'm gonna go ahead and chalk that up to a loss. Those are two huge losses for us. Luckily, we got the Cubs and Reds both at big plus money prices, so it wasn't an absolute bloodbath, but looks like we're definitely gonna finish in the red. Let's put it behind us. Let's move on to Wednesday. We have 14 games to get through. So let's do it.
Welcome to the Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
First up, Texas on the road in Detroit. Dane Dunning is pitching against Joey Wentz. So a huge pitching matchup there for Texas. As I'm recording this, still no line open, which is kind of weird. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 7-1 Rangers after 5 innings. Final score 9-3 Rangers. So Dane Dunning, I don't know if you've seen this guy's numbers, but he's having an incredible year. He started off pitching really well out of the bullpen. Then when DeGrom got hurt, he got put into the rotation. Since he's been put in the starting rotation, he's made 4 starts. He's got a 1.59 ERA, allowing just a 2.56 WOBA, and he's yet to let up a single home run all season out of the bullpen or in any of his starts. Now he faces the Detroit Tigers lineup that he's pretty much dominated over the course of his career. Tigers bats lifetime, 39 plate appearances, batting just 143 with a 488 OPS against Dunning. So he's owned this lineup. Yes, his last 2 starts on the road in Detroit weren't great, but Dane Dunning has struggled on the road throughout his whole career, except for this year. He's turned over a new leaf. In his 3 road starts, he's allowed just 3 runs through 16 2/3 innings of work. So this is a brand new Dane Dunning we're seeing this season. We just saw another hot right-handed starter come into Detroit and hold the Tigers lineup scoreless. That was Eovaldi. I think Dunning continues to dominate and puts up another great start here. On the other side is Joey Wentz, and wow, this guy's having a very tough time this season. In his last 3 starts, he's got a 14.54 ERA, a 4.93 WOBA. That's crazy, and a 2.88 WHIP. I mean, that's worse than Madison Bumgarner. This is a whole new level of bad. I truly feel for the guy. He's having a rough time. Now he's got to face the Texas Rangers, who have absolutely murdered left-handed pitching the whole season. Over the last 2 weeks, they're 5th in WRC+. They haven't cooled off at all. And in the last 30 days, they're 3rd. I mean, they've just been murdering left-handed pitching since the season started. Get this, the Texas Rangers have scored 3 or more runs off the opposing left-handed starter 14 straight times. So the last 14 left-handed starters against Texas have allowed 3 or more runs, and 10 of those 14 have allowed 4 or more. This line, like I said, isn't open yet, but I'm truly scared for Joey Wentz. I'm thinking Rangers first 5 minus a half run, maybe Rangers team total over, maybe even Rangers minus 1.5. Definitely on Texas here. I'll let you know on the live show at 11 a.m. what the final bet is, but there's no chance in hell it'll be Detroit next game. Angels at White Sox. Jamie Barea pitching against Lance Lynn. Chicago opens up as minus 130 favorites. This total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 2-0 Angels after 5 innings. Final score 2-1 Angels. Well, to start this one out, Jamie Barea's actually got great career numbers against these Chicago bats. The current White Sox hitters are just 4 of 29 off Barea with 0 extra base hits. That being said, most of those appearances were out of the bullpen. As we all know, that's a completely different environment than starting the game. He actually only has 1 career start against the White Sox, and it was 5 years ago. So I don't know how much weight these numbers really carry. I don't think they're very significant. Barea's only made 1 start this season. It was about a week and a half ago, and he was excellent in it. 5 innings pitched, just 2 hits, no runs, no walks. It was a home game against Boston that was during their cold streak, where they weren't scoring runs on anybody, but still, let's give him some credit. It was a dominant start. I know this one's on the road, but it's against the White Sox lineup, and he's a right-handed pitcher, which means chances are he's going to be able to put together a good start. White Sox are just 25th in OPS versus right-handed pitching in the last 14 days, 28th in the last 7 days. They've basically been bottom 5 against right-handed pitching this entire season. On the other side, we got Lance Lynn, and earlier in the season, I'd say I liked this matchup for Lynn, because the Angels lineup was very righty dominant earlier in the season, but they jumbled things around, called a guy up for the minors, got a guy back from injury, and actually there's 4 regular lefties in the Angels day-to-day lineup, so definitely not as favorable as a matchup for Lance Lynn as it would have been a month ago. Also, we're looking at Lance Lynn as a home favorite, which happens to be my favorite spot to fade him. And it's been a few starts since Lynn has got really rocked. I'm thinking he might be due here. Now, bullpen-wise, the edge definitely goes to the White Sox. Chicago's bullpen has definitely outperformed the Angels for about a month now. So I'm probably sticking to the early innings. I'm thinking Angels first 5 money line at plus 105 next game. Rays at Cubs. Zach Eflin pitching against Justin Steele. Rays open up as slight favorites here, minus 135. Total opens up at 8.5 for this one. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 6-1 Tampa after 5 innings. Final score 10-4 Tampa. So check out this pitching matchup here. You got Zach Eflin coming in here with a 7-1 record and a 3.17 ERA. Justin Steele's coming in with a 2.77 ERA and a 6-2 record. Yet the total's at 9. After the first 2 games of this series were 1-0, 2-1. Looks like the odds makers found some angles and they like an over here. Well, one of those angles is most likely that Zach Eflin's pitching on the road. Dating back to last season, he's been much more exploitable on the road. He's got a 5.29 ERA and a 3.83 WOBA on the road. Those numbers are basically twice as bad as his home numbers. On top of that, Zach Eflin's got some really suspect history against this Cubs lineup. They have 61 at-bats against him lifetime. They're batting .344 and with a 10.76 OPS as a team. So as much as I like Eflin, this might be a really shaky spot for him. On the other side, we got Justin Steele. Now, normally I'd be down to back Justin Steele blindly at Wrigley Field, but his numbers have taken a negative turn as of late. Over his last 4 starts, he's posting a 5.40 ERA, a 3.44 WOBA, and a 1.43 WHIP. That's miles away from where his numbers were through the first 7 starts of the season. And what's most concerning to me is he just got hit up at home by the Reds. Now, I know you might be thinking, hey, oh, Kyle, but the Reds have been really hot against left-handed pitching. That's not that bad. Yo, he's pitching against Tampa. They've been the best team against lefties all season. So if you're going to try to give him a pass for the Reds coming into Wrigley Field and hitting him, I mean, brace yourself, because now he's pitching against the Tampa Bay Rays coming off back-to-back losses. The last 9 lefty starters to face Tampa own a combined, so we got 41 innings pitched, a 10.80 ERA, and a 2.02 WHIP, and 3.95 home runs per 9. I mean, and there's some solid names in here. Kershaw, Nestor Cortez, Chris Sale. They all fell victim to Tampa's dominance against lefties. And by the way, you know who else got hit up by Tampa? Justin Steele. Last year, he made it just 2 2/3 innings, allowed 6 base runners and 4 runs to a weaker Rays lineup last year at home in April of 2022. Add in the fact that both of these bullpens have been consistently bottom 10 over the last month. I'm going sharp here. I'm taking the over. Everyone's going to be betting the under. I'm taking the over 9 here at plus 100 next game. Guardians at Baltimore. Shane Bieber pitching against Austin Voth. Another game where we just have no line yet. No total. Nothing's open yet. Let's take a look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 3-0 Orioles after 5 innings. Final score 3-0 Orioles. I'm skipping this one. Shane Bieber just doesn't make sense. I mean, he'll pitch well and get the loss because Cleveland just will score 0 runs. And then he'll go out there and struggle and give up like 6 hits and 4 walks and somehow only give up 2 runs and win. This dude just doesn't make sense. And also, Austin Voth is starting for Baltimore. And if you remember last year, he would start for during these Oriole bullpen days. And the Orioles always seem to hit and win when they start this guy. I just really don't feel comfortable betting this game. I'm skipping it. Next. Braves at A's. Jared Schuster pitching against James Kapp. Atlanta opens up at minus 200 favorites. Total opens up at 8. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 3-0 Braves after 5 innings. Final score 5-1 Braves. I'm looking over or pass in this one, most likely passing. Obviously, it's a lefty on the mound for Oakland, so all signs point to the Braves just crushing this guy. I like James Kapp, but Atlanta's just a nightmare for my guy here. And on the other side, we got Jared Schuster. And I know his numbers don't look that bad, but he's by far the most vulnerable guy in this Braves rotation. This total's set at 8. Braves against a shaky left-hander and Oakland's bullpen. I mean, you could probably chalk Atlanta up for 5 or 6 of those. I doubt this makes the ticket. I doubt I'll actually bet it, but if I had to bet this game, it would probably be the over. Next. Pirates at Giants. Mitch Keller pitching against Alex Wood. Giants open up as slight favorites here, minus 130. Total opens up down at 6.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 2-1 Pirates after 5 innings. Final 2-2. So a strong lean on the under there. We got Mitch Keller coming off his first bad start in basically 2 months. He got hit up bad in Seattle. That doesn't take away from his production so far this season. He's been consistent as hell. He's been one of the best pitchers in the NL, honestly. I fully expect Mitch Keller to bounce back strong here. I know the Giants lineup can be a little scary against right-handed pitching, but Mitch Keller has shown us that he can be trusted against dangerous lineups. I mean, just look at his starts in the last month. Arizona, Baltimore, Tampa, Dodgers. I mean, the Rockies, he threw a complete game shutout against the Rockies. They've been top 10 against righties all year. So the Giants bats, yeah, maybe they're a bit of a threat against right-handed pitching, but so is every single lineup he's seen for a month. And Mitch Keller just continues to produce. So he just seems like one of those aces I can trust. On the other side, you got Alex Wood. And honest question, has he had one decent start yet this entire season? I mean, I know you're going to point to his last start. The Giants won 15-1. But one, it's a lefty against the Brewers. They're the worst lineup in baseball against left-handed pitching. And his numbers weren't even great. He walked 5 guys in that game. He wasn't even good against the Brewers. Pittsburgh is certainly not hitting lefties like they were a month ago. In fact, they're down there close to the Brewers. Just 24th in OPS versus lefties in the last 14 days. But I truly think Alex Wood is trash. I don't trust him at all. I think the only reason he was even able to put an average start together is because Milwaukee is truly that bad. Pittsburgh is 8-3 and Mitch Keller's 11 starts this season. At plus money against Alex Wood, I'm taking it. Give me Pittsburgh money line at plus 110 next game. Nats at Dodgers. Patrick Corbin pitching against Noah Syndergaard. Dodgers open up as heavy favorites as expected. Minus 255. Total opens up at 9.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 6-4 Dodgers after 5 innings. Final score 8-5 Dodgers. I'm skipping this one as well. I'm really tempted to take Washington, and that's why I need to skip it because Patrick Corbin on the road against the Dodgers is just a disaster waiting to happen. But the thing is, Patrick Corbin's been pitching well, and that's why I'm so tempted to take Washington. I don't care what the box score says in his last start. Gave up a bunch of runs at Kansas City. I watched that entire game because I bet the Nats pretty heavy. He was pitching well. He had some really bad luck to put up those numbers. But like I said, he's on the road where he's been worse over the last few years. He's much more reliable at home in LA against the Dodgers. I just can't do it. I want to, but I can't. Pass. Next game. Padres at Marlins. Blake Snell pitching against Braxton Garrett. Miami opens up as very slight favorites here, minus 115. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 4-4 tie after 5 innings. Final score 4-4. So surprisingly, both these teams are actually hitting left-handed pitching pretty well as of late. Miami 7th in WRC plus versus lefties over the last 2 weeks. Padres are 10th during that same span, and even over the last 30 days, both of those teams remain top 10 against left-handed pitching. That makes this game kind of difficult to bet because we're looking at a lefty-lefty pitching matchup, which is obviously rare, with two lineups that normally shouldn't scare you with a left-handed pitching, but both of them are hitting lefties, so I really don't know how to gauge that. If we're matching these two starting pitchers up next to each other, obviously I got to give the edge to Braxton Garrett. Blake Snell on the road has proven us year after year that he cannot be trusted. I know that this year his road ERA is actually better than his home ERA, but the other underlying numbers are just really concerning. Like a 337 WOBA, 18.6 walk percentage, and a 6.41 FIP. This just does not point to a guy we can trust on the road. Meanwhile, Braxton Garrett has looked excellent over his last 3 starts, including a trip to Coors Field. His horrendous blow-up against the Braves have left his home numbers wildly skewed. But throughout his career, he's been a reliable starter at home, and he's really having a good season right now. I know the Marlins bullpen just blew the game for us last night, but overall, both these bullpens are pretty evenly matched. Both saw some pretty heavy usage last night, specifically the Padres, so I'm going to go back to Miami here. Give me Miami money line at plus 110 next game. Brewers at Blue Jays. Julio Teheran pitching against Alek Manoah. Toronto opens up as pretty heavy favorites here, minus 180. Total opens up at 10. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 3-2 Brewers after 5 innings. Final score 4-3 Blue Jays. Well, my first instinct in this one is just blindly fade Toronto. I mean, plus 170 to bet against Alek Manoah. Sign me up. Blue Jays are 0-5 in his last 5 starts, and he's truly been abysmal. If this was last season, maybe we could consider backing Manoah at home in Toronto because he was somewhat reliable, but that's not the case at all this year. He's made 5 starts at home this season. He's 0-2 with a 7.23 ERA. He has not been good in Toronto. I know the Brewers lineup has been just a practical joke recently. It's so bad, but at least Manoah's a righty. Look, I'm not saying they've been good against right-handed pitching, but certainly they've been better against righties than they have been against lefties. On the other side, do I trust Teheran on the mound? No, of course not, but I don't trust the Blue Jays bats either. Toronto's won 3 of their last 4 games, got to give them that. But 2 of those wins were 3-1 and 3-0. Keep in mind, Taron did pitch really well in his first start this season against the Giants. Not the easiest lineup to pitch against if you're a right-handed starter. There's really not much of a case I can make for Milwaukee here. I mean, if you're on the fence, I'm probably not going to be able to sell you. This is as simple as plus 170 to bet against Alek Manoah, who's having an awful season. It won't be a heavy bet or anything. It might not even make the final ticket, but I'm on the Brewers money line, plus 170 next game. Cincinnati at Boston. Luke Weaver pitching against James Paxton. Boston opens up as heavy favorites here, minus 225. Total opens up at 9.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet and a heavy lean on Cincinnati here. After 5 innings, we're looking at 7-2 Reds. Final score 7-3 Reds. And I got to ask, what are we even talking about here? I mean, last night we took the Reds at plus 165 because they were hot and Boston's cold. We cashed. Why are we not doing the exact same thing in this game as well? I mean, Boston is now 2-6 in their last 8 games, averaging about 2.5 runs per game. Meanwhile, Cincinnati, 6-2 in their last 8 games, averaging 7 runs per game. I mean, one of these teams is hot with a hot lineup, and one is cold with a cold lineup. And if you want to take it to the starting pitching matchup, sure, backing Luke Weaver is kind of scary, but no more scary than backing James Paxton. In fact, 2 of Weaver's last 3 starts were actually solid, so I'm going right back to the Reds. Give me Cincinnati money line again at plus 165 again next game. Phillies at Mets. Aaron Nola pitching against Carlos Carrasco. Phillies open up as slight favorites here, minus 120. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 4-2 Mets after 5 innings. Final score 6-5 Mets. So if you're a betting trends guy, you're definitely on the Mets here because the trends definitely point towards New York in this spot. Mets are 16-8 in their last 24 home games against the Phillies. The Phillies have also lost 5 of Aaron Nola's last 6 starts at Citi Field, and even pitched well in a couple of those, still lost. Philadelphia's bats really just haven't shown up for this guy in these spots. They're averaging just 1.7 runs per game in those. Now the Mets are seeing Nola in his worst state in quite some time, probably a couple years, with their bats heating up. Mets are 3rd in WRC plus versus right-handed pitching over the last 2 weeks. 3rd. And they're 10th over the last 30 days. So the Mets have low-key flying under the radar, starting to get hot against righties again like they were earlier in the season. Based on history, even if they could just get a few runs off Nola, they should win this game. The Phillies bats, however, are kind of doing the opposite. Philadelphia has been a strong lineup against right-handed pitching this whole season, but they're kind of slumping recently. They're back in the bottom 10 over the last 14 days, which is crazy considering the success they've had against right-handed pitching for most of this year. I know Carlos Carrasco has looked really shaky to start this season, but in his second start back from injury, he dominated the Cubs, 6 2/3 innings, allowing just 7 base runners. He allowed 1 run on a solo home run. And what makes this particularly interesting is Carrasco's splits against left-handed bats. We know the Phillies have a lot of lefties in there, including Schwarber, Bryce Harper, Stott, Clemens, Marsh. Carrasco against left-handed bats this year, 264 WOBA, just a 171 opponent's batting average, and just 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. Drastically better against left-handed bats than he is against right-handed bats. Plus, if you remember back to last season, Carlos Carrasco was very solid at home. His weakness was heading out on the road, so he's due for a real good home start here. I know the Mets bullpen has definitely been suspect. I'm a Mets fan, trust me, it's rough. But Kodai Senga was able to throw 7 innings yesterday, which means they should be pretty well rested heading into this one. Phillies bullpen actually has been performing pretty well, but they're starting to slip back to the Phillies bullpen we've all come to know and love. In the last 7 days, they're bottom 10 in ERA, FIP, and expected FIP. With betting trends and history in our favor, I'm back in the New York Metropolitans. Give me Mets money line plus 110 next game. Twins at Astros. Louis Varland pitching against Hunter Brown. Houston opens up a pretty solid favorites here, minus 190. Total opens up at 8. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at 5-3 Stros after 5 innings. Final score 6-4 Stros. So I'm a little hesitant to bet this game. Hunter Brown's been pitching well. He has. But his last 3 starts were against A's, White Sox. We all know how bad the White Sox lineup has been against righties. So I don't love that this is going to be the first decent lineup he's seen in 3 or 4 weeks. Definitely scares me a bit. On the other side, Louis Varland has also been pitching pretty well. But that's because 3 of his last 4 starts have been at home. All 3 of his road starts this year were rocky. I fully expect Houston to get to Varland. I really think the Houston first 5 run line is going to cash. I think they're going to get to Varland, but I have a feeling that Hunter Brown is due for a bad start also, so I might end up playing an over here. This isn't a game I love either way, so maybe Houston first 5-run line, maybe over. I'm not sure at this moment. I'll let you know on the live show at 11 a.m. next game. Rockies at D-backs. Dinelson Lamet pitching against Tommy Henry. Arizona opens up as -168 favorites. Total opens up at 10. No need to even bring the model up in this one. I'm not betting this game. Skipping it. It's looking like a bullpen day for Colorado. Next, Yankees at Mariners. Clark Schmidt pitching against George Kirby. Seattle opens up as -135 favorites. Total opens up at 7.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. According to the model, we're looking at a 3-3 tie after 5 innings. Final score 5-3 Yanks. I honestly don't know what to do here. I'm not fading the Yankees again. I just lost a big chunk of money on Seattle. Well, technically I didn't lose it yet. That game's still going on, but I think it's 7-2 Yankees right now. So I know it's George Kirby versus Clark Schmidt. I know that starting pitching advantage is definitely tempting, but believe it or not, Clark Schmidt's actually put together 2 solid starts in a row, and Seattle's lineup just cannot be trusted. I haven't trusted them all season. I'm pissed I trusted them last night. The Yankees bats seem to be all the way back. I mean, this lineup is scorching hot. At plus money, it's really hard to pass that up. So the thing is, when the Yankees get hot, they get so public. Everyone starts betting them. So at plus money, it just seems like I'm walking into such a trap here, but probably end up betting the Yankees, honestly. So for this video, I'll say Yankees money line at plus 110 or whatever it's at, plus 115. I'll let you know for sure on the live show at 11 a.m. If anything changes with any of these bets, I will let you know on Twitter, so give me a follow there if you're interested. Also, if you want the final tickets, which has our top bets, a list of every single bet we're making and how much, parlay of the day, strikeout parlay, that kind of stuff, head over to KyleKirms.com.